On Thursday, September the 11th, a senior politician stood up in the House of Commons and called a plan to deport illegal migrants abhorrent.
My new political movement, Restore Britain, is currently running a membership poll on support for deporting all illegal migrants.
For members to debate those, even if they are, I have to say, abhorrent views.
But by Monday, September the 15th, that's today at the time of recording this video, over 100,000 British citizens have signed an official government petition to force that exact debate onto the floor of Parliament. Now, this entire movement isn't a knee-jerk reaction. It's built on a foundation of serious, credible work. On April 30th of this year, the independent MP Rupert Lowe published this Mass Deportations, a blueprint. And this wasn't a slogan, it's a plan. It's a detailed 4-year strategy to remove illegal migrants from Britain. Outlines the logistics, the necessary infrastructure, like expanding detention capacity from just over 2,000 beds to 15,000, and it even specifies the 5 legal changes needed to make it happen, starting with leaving the European Court of Human Rights and scrapping the Human Rights Act. Now, this is crucial. It proves Lowe has done his homework. He didn't just shout into the wind. He's built a serious policy proposal and he's costed it. The plan estimates that once complete, mass deportations will save the British taxpayer about £10 billion every year. This isn't about border security, it's also about fiscal sanity. A credible, detailed plan to solve the crisis has been sitting on the table for months. Backed by parliamentary action like the early day motion Lowe tabled back in April, but the political class, who for 14 years under the Conservatives talk tough but govern left, chose to deliberately ignore it. Now, the establishment's counter-argument will always be the cost. They'll scream that the plan's price tag of over £40 billion is astronomical and completely unworkable. But that's a one-time investment to solve a crisis. The current policy is spending billions every year indefinitely with no solution at all. This is a business decision. You make a capital investment up front to stop the bleeding and secure a massive £10 billion saving every year for the country. Any competent businessman would take that deal in a heartbeat. The Westminster bubble would rather the country go broke than admit a common sense solution exists. So the obvious next logical step for Rupert Lowe is to ask for a proper debate. So on September the 11th, Rupert Lowe stood up and followed parliamentary procedure to the letter, requesting a formal debate on the mass deportation of every last illegal migrant. And the response he received wasn't a disagreement, it was an insult to millions of British people. The Leader of the House, Sir Alan Campbell, denied the request, but it's how he did it that matters. He said he had to respect the views of members and then added the sneering little phrase, even if they are, I have to say, abhorrent.
For members to debate those, even if they are, I have to say, abhorrent views.
So let that sink in. The man in charge of scheduling Parliament's business didn't say the plan was unworkable or too expensive. He declared it morally repulsive. He wasn't just dismissing a policy, he was pathologising the millions of voters who support it. He was telling you your perfectly reasonable concerns about national security and the rule of law are, to him, disgusting. That's the arrogance of the Westminster blob. They don't just disagree with you, they are disgusted by you. He then told Lowe to seek a debate through the usual way, a classic procedural fob-off designed to kill the issue. His attempt to slam the door of democracy shut. Now, his defenders will say that he was just expressing a personal moral opinion. He's allowed to find the policy distasteful. Well, the Leader of the House isn't a commentator, he's the referee. His job is to manage the business of the House and make time for debates on issues of huge public interest. By using an inflammatory word like abhorrent, he wasn't debating the policy, he was abusing his procedural power to enforce his own progressive ideology and try to silence a legitimate point of view held by millions. It was fundamentally anti-democratic. The message is pretty clear. The people in charge think that your views are so vile, they shouldn't even be discussed in Parliament. Lowe did what the establishment fears most. He took his case directly to the people. And today, September the 15th, he launched an official UK government petition. And the result wasn't just a success, it was an explosion. I think the petition hit tens of thousands of signatures within the first hour. By midday, it was up to over 60,000. And now we're well over 100,000. And that's past the 100,000 threshold needed to be considered for a parliamentary debate. So in less than a day, the British public delivered the mandate that the Leader of the House had personally denied. So this wasn't a fringe movement. This is a direct digital rebuke to the man who called their views abhorrent. Now, cynics will say this is just an online petition. It's meaningless clicktivism that the government will simply ignore. And that's not entirely true. I mean, this isn't a Twitter poll. It's an official government and parliament system with rules they cannot break. You reach 10,000 signatures, that means the government's now legally mandated to provide a formal written response. Reaching 100,000 means the Petitions Committee is now formally required to consider it for a full debate. So Lowe has successfully performed a perfect end run around the Leader of the House, using the people's power to force the very debate he personally blocked. So look at the sequence. It started with substance, a detailed, credible plan. That substance was met with contempt, the establishment's sneering insult, and that contempt was answered with overwhelming popular force, the petition. People rallied because the messenger is authentic. This is a man who was reportedly told by Nigel Farage himself to tone down the term mass deportations, and he refused. This is a man who says what he thinks, calling out alien cultures and stating plainly his policy applies to man, woman or child. The moment that petition crossed 100,000 signatures was a direct thundering roar back at the Westminster elite. It proved that this may not be the fringe minority that they want it to be. That said, the pushback is only just beginning, so if you haven't signed the petition yet, I will pop a link down below, but let's try and get these numbers up even higher. Anyway, thanks for watching.